Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Raul, and I'd like to welcome you to the AO podcast. Now, this podcast, as you can see, for those of you who are watching the video, I have somebody sitting next to me. Now, this is my best friend who I've known for literally over a decade, and over that time, we have gathered and created some crazy ass memories that we just decided that we had to share with you guys. And for better or worse, we're going to be putting them out there. And I cannot wait for you guys to hear it. And I hope you'll join us on this journey. And real quick, before I let Michael introduce himself, I do want to tell you, make sure you follow the podcast. It's at official AO podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. And so, Mike,
Yeah.
I mean, tell the people about you. What?
Listen. You see? Around here. This is the AO podcast. What's up? I don't
This
know why
isn't
I was
the dude. Hey, come on, bro. This isn't the fucking Irishman. We don't like.
just like slow pauses. We'll make this 3.5 hours. Oh fucking goddamn. Anyways, my name is Michael Martinez. As this you can censor that. As this mother says,
I hate you.
this is the podcast where we're like, hey, let's because you've had this idea for a while, right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so it's just like, and I've always been like, I don't know, but then now I'm like, I have, nothing to do, so it's just, in all seriousness, no, the me and him have actually like tried to. I'm more of like a filmmaker. I'm more of a music artist. I'm more of a theater dude. So like, I'm always doing other shit while Raul here's been doing just a lot of YouTube stuff and a lot of different YouTube stuff at that. So like, we were planning this for like months. We were planning this podcast for like months. We probably like put in fruition of what we wanted to do in like November or October, right?
Yeah,
Like it's been
around there.
it's been that while. So I'm not saying, as you see the setup, we didn't plan this, but
You
we
gotta start
definitely
somewhere, bro.
we planned the original podcast. Ideas started spreading around in his head because this is all his idea. This is his baby. This is what he wants to do. So it's just like, being a best friend of 14 years, more than a decade, actually. 2010, so like, so around September 2010. So it would have been, it's almost 14 years, which is nuts. And then and yeah, we're just good to go. And then now, what's the date today? It's like fucking
Oh,
January
January 18th.
18th. Yeah, so it's been a long time coming to do this.
And
And
now,
yeah,
I did want to just point out real quick. Now, a lot of you might be curious as to the name of the podcast. Now, this actually came up because, as we've both mentioned, we've known each other a long time now.
too
And
long.
too long. And then, so I don't know how exactly this tradition started, but we have a very unique way of texting each other, and it that first message in all of our chats is incredible just because it is always consistent. The one word that is always consistent is ayo, hence the name of the podcast. But then that word is followed up by just whatever the hell we can think of in our mind. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had some good ones that I've sent you, but I think the most recent one that I sent you was pretty great because Ayo Fujina sounds like probably one of the greatest cover songs of all time.
Ayo Fujina's crazy. But I think, to add to the point onto the podcast, just like you we're at a point in our friendship, we could just say anything to each other at any given time, no matter what it is, actually. So it's just like, and I feel like it's also like a normalcy of like people just texting ayo, ayo, and then like people also saying like the most random shit to each other. And when you said at first I was like, I don't know, but like then thinking about it, it's like, it's a relatable type of thing. It's short, it's a little catchy. It's like, hey yo, the AP, the AP, the AO podcast. It's just like it's traditional in a way where we're able to add our own spin to the things, and I personally feel like we have a lot of spins and uniqueness within each other for better and always for worse. And it's
Now, okay. Now, just for those of you who are do stick around and take this journey with us, um, I do want to just give a little background as to how we met, just because I feel like if we give you guys that backstory, our friendship will kind of start to make sense to you. And so, I've actually lived here my whole life. Mike moved here from East LA
in 2010. I was 12 years old. I was transitioning from 6th grade to 7th grade. And by the way, like when I did move here, I was a complete fucking loser. I didn't have friends for most of my life. And other things like that. Some of it was my fault, some of it's not. Well, I'm not gonna get into that. But anyways, it's just I moved here. I not only didn't have no friends back where I was from, like moving here, I was like I was like a lone wolf, and not in like the cool way. I was just a loser. So when I came here, so like it took me a while to talk to people. Like I'm not really approachable. Like I don't like approaching people. So.
And now here's the thing: a lot of you might hear that and feel sad for Mike, but let me put this into context for those of you who don't know him.
I wasn't that bad back then.
Listen,
not now.
They have to know this, because this might give some credence as to why.
I was very unique. I'll say that.
Okay, so mind you, 7th grade, right? Me and this dude have never fucking talked to each other once, like at all. And he decides that his first move coming up to me this is his icebreaker, by the way.
I don't remember this. What is this?
You came up to me, and I can't say the actual word because we are on YouTube, so I'll try to clean it up as best as I can.
We were 7th grade Mexicans, ignorant and shit, so, we said anything.
You approached me, and your very first question to me, without even knowing who the hell I was, I don't know exactly what the question was because it has been such a long time, but the topic revolved around adult films.
Why you gotta say adult films like that? Like we're fucking like a fucking History Channel.
P word, but I mean, I'm not. I don't make the rules, man. I don't run YouTube. I wish I did.
Well, yeah,
then I would get paid.
I mean, I want to get paid. Look at me. I can't say the word.
No, but But wait. Don't try to deflect. Okay, so why was that your icebreaker?
Cause we were around like a certain somebody. It was like the first friend I made, first person we met at the school. The first friend I made at the school like we went to. He was kind of a loser. I'm not gonna front. And then like he was always getting made fun of. So I think we were all making fun of him for being a adult film addict. And then I think, like, in that circle, that's when, like, I was asking, he's like, y'all watch this? He's like, I just discovered this. So it's just, I was like, this is insane. I typed in big boobs, and they came up. No. This is insane. So I was just asking, I was like, have y'all heard of this?
Wait a minute. Okay, this is actually a first because I didn't know this part of the story because I didn't really remember it. So you're telling me that one of the reasons why you brought it up is because you had just discovered it?
It's insane. I was like, y'all, he was like, since we're making fun of this adult film addict, are y'all addicts too?
I'm not gonna lie, like I thought by that point you would have been to be fair, my first encounter with that was a good friend of ours that we had that actually transferred schools. I remember he actually used to hang. He was like one of my very first best friends that I ever had, and I remember he came over one night and because he would stay the night at my house for on occasion, and I'll never forget. In my closet, for some reason, my family has used it as like kind of a. Where the fuck did you think I was
like,
going?
you watching that in the closet? Like,
listen, what the fuck am I, Gollum? What the? Listen, but so I'll never forget. So my family, for some reason, they like to use my closet in my room as kind of like a storage, and so they just put like random stuff in there. And I'll never forget. I used to have on the top shelf of my closet. I used to have an old ass Dell laptop, and I'll never forget one night when my friend was over. He freaking opened it up, went on the hub, and that was my first experience. Like, my first experience with it was watching it with somebody else.
And it's, you know what's crazy about like teenage boys, middle school and high school and shit? They'll like show you on command the worst shit possible ever on. Like, he's like, hey, have you seen this? And it's like a fucking like a cartel video or like a fucking like ISIS beheading video. Like, what the fuck? I didn't want to see this. Thank God I wasn't really around. Like, I'm carrying the hub too. Taliban shit. This is
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to find the comparison.
It was like, anyways, showing you shit like you probably shouldn't see on command, and I like how I don't like it actually. I think it's just funny how people do that. He's like, hey, have you seen this? No, watch this, and you're watching your first time watching this sort of entertainment with somebody else, and the fact that it was him, that's pretty funny. That's really hilarious.
No, but I think I'm pretty sure I told you this like a while back, but it's been a minute. But I genuinely didn't know that part of the story, that like you had just came across it.
No, I was like, and we were making fun of that person. He's like, ha, porn addict. Now look where we are. Is
and so. But, I mean, natural progression. I mean, but anyways, so this is the thing. So,
that's how we first met. Let's get back to that. That's how we first met, sadly.
But listen, so I just wanted to point out that it had been so long, and I didn't know that part of the story because, like I said, I don't really remember exactly how the conversation went because it's been so long.
It's been so long.
So, in my mind, I had actually recreated that moment in my head just because I couldn't actually remember it. So let me tell you real quick, like in my version, I just picture we're in the middle of class, maybe we're like silent reading or some shit and we have to be quiet and you're sitting next to me and all of a sudden you just kind of nudge me and you're like, hey, so I'm a Carmela Bing type of guy, what about you?
No, I didn't. What a throwback. He's like, that's like Hollywood, like Walk of Fame type shit. Okay, that's like the stars on the Hollywood Boulevard shit. It's like,
hey, nothing but the classics, man.
The classics, man. He's like, and imagine someone like watching like old school porn, like, oh, the memories. I don't think, like, imagine like someone's so fucked up and addicted. It's just like
an old guy, watching it like, I miss the bush.
he's like, where's the hair? he's like, what's with all these lasers and whatnot? I want my hair.
But
back on track. That's how we first met, basically, and then like, let's get off the adult entertainment side of things because we talked way too long about that, and it's like we also talked about we were both Xbox people, so the next major thing besides adult entertainment, obviously, to transition to is Gears of War.
I mean, gaming and adult film kind of go hand in hand.
Especially in the early 2010s, they were like grooming sex porn addicts basically. So it's just like insane. But anyways, let's not talk about like the economics and the ethics of the early 2010s advertisement. Let's talk about how we met and how we bought it during like doing not during with Gears of War, and also our the best rapper of all time, the best rapper of all time, sarcastically, Eminem. And it's like
oh dude, you're already gonna get people in our comments.
Shut up. It's just like
I mean, you can defend those.
That sounded
I didn't say that.
That sounded like a relapse flow.
I mean, listen, but that's we do like Eminem. I mean, maybe not as much anymore, but we do.
No, especially when we were 7th grade. That was like recovery era, so that was like perfect for us. Like that was like music made for like angsty loser 12-year-old boys. So like we were like huge fans. And like we were like listening to albums people hated, like Encore and Relapse, you know. So it's just like we were like Eminem heads in like 2010, 2011.
You know what I just remembered?
What?
I'll never forget. I think it was actually one of the very first times you ever came over to my house. But I'll never fucking forget this memory just because it was so hilarious. And to this day, I still don't know why you actually did it. But I remember one day you came over to my house and you had rode your bike over here. And so in my front yard, I used to have like an old ass like swing set, like that was fucking rusted as shit. And I don't know, I don't know what the hell we were thinking, but I had like the fucking HTC phone back then, and I decided to be on some jackass shit. And I was like, "Hey, Mike, why don't you ride your bike up the slide?" And
I was to put my. Oh, it was up, right? It was
yeah,
up. Yeah. Okay, I remember now.
And so I was, and you're like, "Oh, fucking okay." Like I don't know why you agreed to it, and then you did it, and you fucking fell to the side.
Yeah, I went all the way up, and then I literally flopped to the side. And like I stood still for a bit on top. I was like, "Oh, I got this. This is like easy." And then I fell.
And then I'll never forget, you got like, I think like you got like a small scrape on like your elbow or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, "I'm just going to tell my mom I fell on my bike."
Yeah, I don't think it's been a while. I don't think not a lot of people know that, actually. Not a lot of people know.
You never fucking told anybody?
I told some people. I think I told like our friends like years ago, but and not really. I think I told like a couple people like more recently, but no, I usually forget that. But that shit's so funny, and what a funny thing to do. I look back and laugh. Hopefully when I do something stupid in the moment, I usually laugh it off later in life. Sometimes I'm just like, what an idiot. I have a lot of regrets, but I have a lot of funny moments too. So that shit was funny, you know. But and we could go like I think that's what this podcast is for. We could just go on and on about like the shit we said. That's basically what the podcast is
now just to give you guys
reminiscing because we're old and like we have nothing else to do. But also we I'm gonna transition here. Don't worry, I got you. We will be talking about tons of other stuff, including news, modern world events, movies, music, whether they're informal or not, that will be left up to your decision, but we will be talking about lots of other things and try to correlate everything together.
Now real quick, I do want to say that over the span of this podcast, however long it does last, we will share various stories with you guys because we did go to middle school and high school together, and at one point we even actually worked together. So that is something that we'll definitely get into in the future, but just want to give you guys a quick sneak peek to some of the stories that we'll get into later on in the podcast. But since you transitioned to, you know, some other stuff that we're going to be talking about, I wanted to address this just because I recently saw it like on Instagram and on Twitter, and I was honestly shocked by this, but as you saw, as I posted on my story the other day, and you remember that I started watching the Ted series on Peacock, and
Hey, those clips are funny.
listen, I'm not saying that it's not like like if you like, because it's created by obviously Seth MacFarlane, who made the original Ted movies, and he does tend to have a lot of family-esque or Family Guy-esque type humor in most of his work. So, I mean, being that I did grow up on Family Guy, I do find a lot of the jokes funny, but the one thing that I will say is that it has been getting like an overwhelmingly positive like review from the audience.
Yeah.
And my thing is that I'm having a hard time with that, just because there's one very specific thing about the show that just kind of kills it for me and doesn't really allow me to get into it as much as I would like. And that is, so this is no spoilers, by the way, because this is like all revealed in like the first 5 minutes of the episode, or the first episode. But so the series is supposed to take place in 1993, somewhere in Boston. And like, listen, I've never been to Boston before, but from what I know, and especially back then, wasn't Boston supposed to be like one of the most racist places ever?
It still is.
And then, no, okay, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, right? So taking that into consideration, so one of the characters that they added onto the show is this girl who is supposed to play, what was Mark Wahlberg's character's name?
I'm not a Ted investor. I'm not a Ted connoisseur. I'm like, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, well, whatever. Okay, so it's the actor who's supposed to be playing the young Mark Wahlberg. It's the girl supposed to be his cousin, right? And she's like living with them, and she's like this super liberal, like woke college student. And obviously, like, the dad is, like, very ignorant and stuff because he's a Boston dad in the 90s. And so I like, the thing is, I understand it from a show's perspective where they brought her in as kind of like a contrast to his character. But the reason why it bothers me so much is because it is supposed to be set in that time period.
There was wokeness in Boston.
I mean,
not everybody is racist in
no,
Boston.
I'm not saying that everybody's, but I mean, it just kind of makes it feel modern. And that's why it takes it, like, it kind of kills it for me, because it is supposed to be like a timepiece series that takes place in a specific time. But because of her character, it just kind of makes it seem like more modern. And that's the thing that I mean, I'm not saying that it's a shitty show, because it's not, because I actually did kind of enjoy it. But that's just something that just personally kills it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So Seth MacFarlane, we need more racism in the TED show, please.
Come on. I did not say that. I did not say that.
No, I mean, I kind of get your point, but more on a visual from the clips I've seen. I don't think they really like established like, oh, like from the look of it, it looks like it could take place yesterday. Like the cinematography looks like it could take place like yesterday instead of like the 90s. Maybe I could get to that on that level. I haven't seen the show, so I have no opinion. And that's Rose critique and review of Ted, the original animated series. It's not animated. It's not animated. I don't know why I said that.
I mean, it goes to show that you actually haven't watched it, even though you have seen clips.
I've seen clips.
I don't think
I don't know why
they
I
were
said
animated.
animation. I mean, Ted CGI looks pretty good though. I'm not gonna front, So it looks like better than like the Marvel, like the Marvel shit. Actually, Ted, like that's actually kind of embarrassing.
Okay, wait. So just kind of to segue a little bit. So
yeah,
something
let's see if we'll keep this clip or not.
Something that you'll find out very quickly about Mike is he's somebody that is very into film and theater, and
music.
one of his best friends, that means that I am subjected to watching movies that I honestly never ever thought would exist. And I was actually waiting for us to record this episode because I finally wanted to address it on the podcast. let's talk about how you set me up a while back, Mike.
Well, how did I set you up?
Okay, now
How did I
let's,
set-
and you cannot
Wait,
deny
wait.
this
Let me
because you,
let me delve more into my background a little about my film thing. Like I am like that's like the arts is like my number one thing, and like but then a lot. I'm not gonna. A lot of it's bullshit, and sometimes I was a little bullshit, but a lot of it is bullshit, you know, and it gets tiring. But also, I love the form. I love the art so much. I have a letterbox. Follow me on Film on the Mic, and shit like that. The little plug in for me. Get my taste in. So I just watch a lot of things, just try to learn. That being said, I love ironic movies that are trashy. I also just love trash. I love dog shit movies. I actually could argue you learn more from watching bad movies than watching good movies. That being said, I love really weird movies that scare Raul, and but I also love trash
to be
movies
fair,
to
it would scare
surprise
most
Raul.
people. Now,
That's true. How'd I set you up though?
okay,
So
listen,
you
I had to address this, man, because you cannot sit here and say that none of this is true because you know that it happened and you said it. So I'll never forget. A while back, it was just a regular night. I was just chilling in my room, and I get a text from this dude, and all he says is, "Hey, me and a couple of buddies are going to go watch Midsummer."
we can't discuss this now. That has to be in. Listen, we have to do Midsummer another time because that's a whole like 2 hour podcast. Honestly,
Okay, we can. Well, okay,
just a little bit. Give a hint.
We'll get into. We won't get into the actual what I thought about the movie, but I will. I do want to address how you set me up though, because you did. So, you hit me up and told me that you were planning to go see this movie with a couple of homies, and mind you, I never ever said that I was down to go. All I said was like okay or something, and then a few days later, I get a text the night before, and he's like, "Hey, like, so just so you know, it's gonna be like us and like 7 other people." I'm like, "7 other people for what?" And he tells me that he had already gotten my ticket to go watch it, and not just mind you, not just Midsummer, the freaking director's cut with extra footage. And I'm just standing like I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay, well, fuck. I guess I'm going to go see this movie now.
And to be fair, you've seen his first movie, Hereditary.
Yes.
And you still don't know what to think about it.
But listen, but then you set me up even more because it wasn't just buying the ticket for me. I'll never forget the day that we're supposed to go see the movie. You legit hit me up and told me, "Hey, I want you to be as high as you can possibly be before we go in to see this movie." And he's like, "I need you." And I quote, you said, "I need you in your most vulnerable mind state." And after you said that, I knew that I was not in for a good time.
Oh my god. That's such a fucked up text.
I mean, out of context, it's a little sus, but I mean,
it's a movie. It's for fucking sure. It's like a traumatic movie, but it's a movie. But we have to talk about because honestly, the 5-year anniversary is June, and honestly, I'm not gonna front. I'm probably gonna try to set you up like that again soon. So be prepared. So we'll talk about that later. And there's a lot of like anniversary shit from music to movies that I do want to cover this year also. But that is going to be one of the many movies, because I've shown you a lot of movies that are like out there in a lot of ways, from Poultrygeist to Ice Cream Man to Fateful Findings to what was a good one?
for those of you who didn't hear, he didn't say Poultrygeist. He said Poultrygeist.
Poultrygeist, which is an amazing artistic achievement that I recommend everybody to see, including your children. So it's
I mean,
but for me, like my actual artistic like things, I could go from like that trash to like, you know, my favorite movies are like Midsummer, all that jazz, A Brighter Summer Day. And then what are your favorite movies, Raul?
yeah, so I like Terrifier. And I don't really know what that says about me. I just listen. I am not ashamed to say that I enjoy trash, and just to give you guys a little bit of context. So I like movies like Terrifier, and the last horror movie I watched was called Slaughterhouse.
What the fuck is that?
Not Slaughterhouse, House, which is about a killer sloth who goes on a killing spree in a sorority.
Was the acting bad?
It was horrible. I went into it knowing it was gonna be a dumb movie, but I was like, hey, maybe at least the kills will pay off. No, they didn't.
But there's a man, we could, and honestly, this whole thing, besides our stories, could be like a movie type podcast because there's a lot of movies we see and show each other that are really funny. Like I do maybe in Halloween I do want to do like a sleepaway camp rewatch and marathon so we can just talk about it. Those movies were great. Oh my god. Not just the first one, because the first one's pretty iconic. No, all of them. There's the first one, the second one, the third one, and then Return to Sleepaway Camp. And all of them are unique in their very special ways. Like, all of them are great.
I'm not gonna lie, it really tripped me out when I found out that the main actress from the basically all of them, the one that plays the killer.
Yeah.
It tripped me out when I found out when I watched Terrifier 2 for the first time.
Oh, she was in it?
Yeah, she was one of the teachers that like screamed at the kid like stop running in the halls or something. That was actually her, and I didn't know that until after. I was like, oh, hey, there she is.
Oh, isn't the third Terrifier coming this Christmas, actually?
Yes, it is, and I am beyond excited about it. Of
course you were, and apparently it's going to be longer than the second one.
Listen, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I don't want to give, I'll give a brief review of Terrifier since we're on the subject.
We're bouncing all over.
Yeah, I hope you get used to this because this is what it's going to be. I mean... there's not gonna we can't. There's no possible way we can have a format to this whatsoever.
Literally, we can't. We literally could bounce off each other for like hours and like pause. But like, it's just gonna be chaos all around. Even when we try to have like a strict thing, we both know that's not gonna happen. It's like we try our best to try to keep like a formal conversation, but we're too like, ADHD autistic ass kids, so it's just like bouncing off each other, so it's just like not be prepared for nonsense.
So I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't until I got super high with you at your house and I rewatched the first Terrifier with you that I realized how shitty the actual story was.
It's nonsense.
And then the thing too is that the second one, the story got a little better, but it was way too fucking long.
Yeah, it's so long, and I feel like the third one's gonna be longer. I just feel it. I feel like he said it too. It's apparently gonna be more graphic, so you're gonna be in it for that. But we like watching movies like this, even when we don't like them. There is always something to get out. Except that one movie with the alligator we watched. I forgot what that was.
Oh, I think it was called like Crawl or something.
Yeah, not Crawl. It was like, it looked like a fucking TV SVU fucking looking ass movie. But I can't remember. It was on Tubi. We like watching Tubi stuff and shit. Tubi's always fun. Tubi is so much. I'm trying to remember what movie you're talking about. It was like in the swamp, and then there was the crocodile eating the people, and they're on the boat, and like the houses and the lake and shit.
Oh, I think I might vaguely remember it.
Yeah, it was so bad we had to turn it off and shit. It was not a good time to watch. Yeah, but we learn and we fail. But I show you a lot of different ones though. I can't I showed this motherfucker Crash from 1996. Where the people are sexually attracted to car crashes.
That was I want you to.
It's David Cronenberg. It's one of his. It's a vibe.
Like I wouldn't Here's the thing, I am not personally going out and seeking out a movie that is about people who get turned on by car accidents, but I mean. again, like if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know about any of these movies. Like because, like who the hell like. It's the thing is too is like it's not like it's a movie that you just came across like oh, dude, this movie's fucking great, like I've seen it 30,000 times. I'm like, what is it about like the idea of this movie that attracts you so much?
Vibe. It's like funny.
Car crashes are a vibe.
They're for the way these motherfuckers are like getting turned on and shit is so great and funny. It's so well filmed, and it's like that one dude. But he's like, "This is the car that James Dean drove in, and he died," and everybody, audience is like, "Oh," and shit like that. And it's so good. It's so great. Like I love Cronenberg. The motherfucker made The Fly, man. It's the same director. It's like he's a master of what he does. I love Cronenberg. But there's tons of movies I want to show you from him, from the same dude, and I feel like you're gonna think different.
I'll never think different, but I mean, listen, and then also, I remember. Oh, this is something. Okay, so I have a bunch of really random thoughts when I get high, and I thought of one last night, and I wanted to bring it up to you because I wanted to see what you would say. I found it to be very interesting. So, okay, so obviously we all know that where you like your environment and where you grow up is very crucial to like the type of person that you turn out to be. So I got really high last night, and I started thinking,
as usual.
Yes, as usual, and I started thinking, if you could keep your same family, like everything about you is practically the same, except you had to grow up somewhere else besides here, where would you want to grow up, and how much do you think it would affect who you are as a person? Like your personality, like do you think that you would be any different as a person from like depending on where you grew up?
Probably. Especially when I was younger, I was very easily influenced. The fact that I didn't, well, I got in trouble a little bit, but I didn't get the fact that I wasn't in as much trouble as I was is actually surprising because of like I was easily influenced. So like yeah, sure. Like, but I don't know where I would rather grow up in. It's like it's not really something I really think about because honestly, I liked growing up where we are, or like where I did, especially the transition from East LA to here. It's like I would have, it's like a better path, especially with the people I met. I wouldn't trade that for the world, honestly, because of the people I met. Sure, like there's people I would rather not meet and wish I wouldn't have met and like not meet again, but like
Bro, imagine growing up in fucking like Alabama or somewhere.
kind
Like,
of stupid. Fuck
like
it.
I don't think, depending on the year, I don't think we would be alive.
Like I'm trying to be on sincere. It's like, bro, imagine Alabama.
I mean,
Yeehaw!
like that,
It's
like that's like imagine how shitty our lives would be if we grew like no. This is not,
have you met my sister / mom /
okay, listen,
aunt
and you took it there. You took it there,
ah.
so you're gonna have to defend that shit because I'm not.
I'm just
That
saying.
was Michael. Okay, I wasn't gonna take it there. I was literally about to say, I'm not
Listen.
shitting on people from Alabama, but I mean, you're the one that took it there. So.
Listen, you're the one that said we might not be alive depending on what year there
I mean,
were.
we would not like. It's not the most tolerable place. I mean,
Bro, we live in the most liberal place, and even fucking hate crimes here happen a lot. Imagine Alabama shit. We would,
exactly. We most likely wouldn't have been alive.
Calling them racist, but bringing up the incest part's weird. Fuck you.
Listen, I have to deal with this every day, so.
Imagine if I was like, that's who they are.
It's gonna be a lot of this, so I hope you guys are strapped in.
And it's funny because a lot of our friends and actually a few of my coworkers are like because we posted about this way back in October or November. We're advertising the podcast despite us not doing anything. We're advertising the
Hey,
podcast.
says you, fool. I was fucking busy in the cut, like making all the bad behind the scenes shit work.
In the cut, that's funny. But Louise in the cut, but yeah, but we've been advertising all that, and then they're like, oh, and they've been telling me, when's your podcast? When's your podcast? And then when the homies came over, fucking Louis,
Oh,
Louise
Luis.
was
Shout out
like,
to Luis.
shout out to Louise. He was like, I'm in like the PSN chat. And then like his friends are like, "What's the AO podcast?" And he's like, "I'm not their fucking manager. Why don't you fucking ask them?" And they keep asking him.
Listen, I was very, very surprised to find out that people were actually waiting on this.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure why, but I would like to say real quick for those of you who were waiting on this,
we're sorry.
I sincerely apologize.
So this, like 40 minutes in, we've talked about how we bonded through porn. Shit.
That was great. That was great.
I try to breathe a certain way.
I'm keeping that in.
I try to breathe a certain way, and I fucking sound like a fucking police officer. And then,
That was great, man. I hope the mic better have picked that up.
Fucking sound like Big Pun when he raps.
I'm gonna
He's
freaking
like,
make that into a sound loop, dude.
fuck it, that's gonna be part of the intro. Fucking. But like we've talked about porn, we've talked about Terrifier, we talked about Gears of War. We didn't even really. We had a structure too. We're 40 minutes in, and we didn't even talk about like the test run we did.
Oh yeah,
yesterday.
we gotta talk about
like not
that.
yesterday, but like the other day. I forgot when.
So this food came over and we got everything ready, because I just wanted to get the setup ready, hook up all the equipment just to make sure that everything was working properly, obviously, before we actually recorded. Now, we got everything going. We're sitting here exactly like we are now. We press record. Now, typically, a test shoot should only last about maybe 5 to 10 minutes just to double check and make sure all the equipment's properly working. Well,
more like, and especially the audio testing should have lasted just like 20 seconds.
And we start talking. And so for those of you who don't know, we do have an audio mixer here, and it actually does show us how long we've been recording for. And so we're just talking, going about it, and I look at the thing, and we're like damn near almost 20 minutes into this test shoot with footage that we're never going to use. And so
it was a fun conversation.
It was a fun conversation, but the thing is, like, we legit forgot what we were even doing. Like, we were just talking. We were like, we didn't freaking like make sure everything was sounding good. We were just fucking talking. Like, it could have sounded like shit, and we probably wouldn't have even noticed.
By the way, and that's how we just do things around here. We just go on for way too long and don't even test anything. It's just. But like we kind of knew that, I think this podcast format will work in some way or another. And also, like, the audio was good, I think, especially when you go in your post-production things and, like, motherfucking fix it and shit. Fix it just a little bit, because I think it sounds solid and shit. But and then I was like, oh yeah, we're able to fill like an hour. We're able to fill like an hour easily, but we didn't stop. We're not professionals. Like, this is not a professional podcast. So, surprise, surprise.
If the background and setup didn't give that away.
Or our conversations about discovering porn in 12th grade and the phenomenon and the ethics and that. We're
speak for yourself, bro. I was already like a few clips in by the time I met you, man.
I was like, I got the Call of Duty Black Ops ranks. You're already Prestige 2. When I just got to level 50, I was like, oh shit, I get all the guns, and it's like, wait, I get to upgrade another and do it all again? Oh shit. Like, porn is just like Call of Duty Black Ops online. You just like, there's just rank after rank, and there's people gonna be better than you.
People are gonna. I mean, porn is a thing, so yeah, there's people that are better at it.
Not even just like acting, like people are like, yeah, I'm not even gonna get into it because that's like a whole like ass problem. And also, I think that's why transitioning to more of a sincere thing, or at least trying to, at least that's why we want to like make this podcast because we see a lot of other podcasts. Not only we're inspired by like I'm a fan of. I think we're both fans of. Yeah, well, I think we're both fans of Dead End Hip Hop, and we're both fans of like their podcast
Yeah,
and
everything they
stuff.
do is great. Shout out to them.
Yeah, so we're very inspired by them. They make us laugh a lot, and we make each other laugh a lot. And not only that, we just see a ton of bullshit on like the TikTok and Instagram algorithms,
Yeah,
and
well,
we.
like, here's the thing. Not to, shit on anybody and, like, the work that they've done to, like, make their podcast a success. But, I mean, some of the subject matter with some of these podcasts, I'm just like, I can't believe people actually, I mean, to be fair, I can't believe people are actually going to listen to this, but to listen to that, I'm like, it kind of makes me question the mindset of a person that listens to that kind of stuff.
No, and there's like a little bit like of a rise of like incel red pill type content as of the last couple of years. And it's just like there's a lot of things like that that's just like what like it's for us, it's just it's just like disgusting and like fucked up and shit. But we want to try to like counteract that with like a self expression of like just a bunch of laughs and like a bunch of like weird shit. Because I personally feel we're very offensive, but also like we can. We're funny when we're offensive, and like these podcasts are just like you're not funny, you're not entertaining, you're like spreading this incel shit, this loser shit, and that's coming from us losers. So it's just like,
You want to know who's the first person that told me about Andrew Tate?
who
I'm pretty sure you can guess.
I
It's one of our homies.
yeah.
Listen, when we get more into this podcast, there is a friend of ours that we will bring up.
Don't hype him up like this.
No, listen, but I got
No.
to. I'm not trying to hype them up. I'm trying to make them understand. This is the friend that we've literally known since middle school. But actually, funny enough, I didn't start actually hanging out with him until after high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were always cool with each other, but we never like hung out outside of school.
Mm-hmm.
But we started hanging out shortly, like I think maybe like a year after we graduated high school. And the one thing that I will say about him is that out of all the people that I've ever met in my entire life, he probably has the most unique personality of somebody that I've ever met. And we're talking about our homie Nick. And he's somebody that you're going to hear us bring up quite often throughout this podcast. And as we start getting into some of the stories involving him, I think you guys will get a pretty good idea of what kind of person he is.
And listen, let's not hype him up that much because he also like if we say some of the stuff, By the way, I think what also like separates us from like other podcasts too is like we try to like evolve and like we've both been very ignorant in our past just because of where we grew up and like the environment we grew up of like even with this incel shit now, like a lot of the 2010s influence was not good at all. It was like the peak Shane Dawson and shit. So it's just like, we've both had a lot of ignorance in us, especially like I think I had too. Like especially me actually. There's a lot of things I had to grow out. A lot of like, not only insecurities, but like bad shit I just had to grow out. I'm not proud of anything like bad I did. So it's just like we're all learning to move on and stuff and shit like that, and not only and just try to express it in the funny way on this podcast. That being said, Nick says the wildest shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's gonna be pretty hard to try to explain who he is without you guys actually knowing him, because Mike is right. Like if we just told you some of the stuff that he said to us before, like without any context, it would literally make him sound like a really bad person.
But he learns too. Like he learns. He does learn. That being said, holy shit. And aren't you going somewhere tomorrow
Oh,
with a couple of other friends
Okay,
that
so
may or may not be with
okay,
Nick
so
too?
before we like wrap this podcast up,
Do we have to wrap it up?
I mean, yeah, I think I don't wait. Were you trying to make a reference to something, or were you legit asking?
No, I'm like asking. I'm like, I feel like we could. I guess we have nothing else. We already talked about like the testing. We talked about how we met. I guess.
Yeah, I think this is good for the first episode. But before we actually get into our final segment of the podcast, Mike is right, as he just alluded to. So tomorrow, I honestly, so this is actually something that came about as kind of like on a whim. It was just something that I found out about through somebody that I follow on Instagram and Twitter. And I figured, now speaking of our friend Nick, he's going to be one of the friends that's going to be attending this event with me. And he here's the thing. As much shit as we're going to give Nick when we talk about him on this podcast, I will say the one thing that has always made me freaking love Nick is that even if something, like, he's always been the friend that has always been down for whatever, even if something is not necessarily his thing, he'll still like be down to at least try it and go with you. And that being said,
where you going? Where you going, Raul?
Listen, with that being said, I've just to give you guys, well, I'll get into it when I explain where I went on the next episode, but just brace yourselves, because he is going to be one of the friends that's going, so that's why I'm honestly super excited about this, because I can't wait to see just exactly how he reacts in this type of environment. And then I'm also going to be attending this event with another homie of ours named Rob, and so tomorrow, Mike, I am going to be attending my very first my first and probably last adult film expo in LA, and I honestly have no idea how to feel about it, but simply because of the company that I'm bringing with me, I cannot fucking wait.
And you know what a way to bring it full circle about how we met, and then now at the age of whatever you are, you're finally going to, your lifelong dream expo.
Lifelong dream? Trust me, it is not a lifelong. I mean, like I said, it's a lifelong dream to see how the people who are going to be with me react. But it's going to be, honestly, I don't know what to expect going into it, because, like I said, I've never been to one of these.
It's going to be all musty and shit. It's going to be fucking cheese and toe jam and shit like that. Like, it's gonna be reeky when you go in
I
there.
don't know exactly what to expect. All I know is that however my friends react to this whole environment is just gonna make this, like, it's gonna honestly just make the whole day. But just as this is gonna be sort of like serve as a little, cliffhanger, to make sure you guys check out the second episode, because on the second episode I will be doing a recap.
I'm not going, by the way. I would never go to this. This is all him. This is all him. I'm just like,
No, listen, hey, I'm not gonna lie, being completely honest, I would not have ever even thought of inviting you to this, and mainly because the reason is, back in the day, back when you were single, I tried to get you to go so many fucking times to a strip club, which you never did.
No.
So listen,
I have no money.
But listen, let me tell you though. Let me tell you, going to this versus, I honestly think you would have honestly been more comfortable in a strip club than what I'm about to do tomorrow, because I have no, like, here's the thing, because even if you've never been to a strip club, you kind of have like a basic idea of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, the poles, the women, and all that.
But with this, I have no fucking idea as to what I'm walking into, so I cannot wait. And make sure you guys stay tuned for the second episode, because I will be recapping that adventure. But before we, cap off this first episode, and again, I want to thank everybody for listening that is still here.
My coworkers are going to be so scarred by this whole hour of this shit. Make sure you look at the censors too.
And so this is going to be, or real quick, before we get into the final segment, again, real quick, thank you for listening. And also, again, make sure you follow the podcast on Instagram and on TikTok at official Ayo podcast. And then on Instagram, if you would like to follow our individual accounts, our IG handles are in the bio of our podcast page. So make sure you guys give us a follow as well. But getting into the final segment of the podcast, this is something that I'm calling the pick of the day. Now, this is mainly going to be revolved around music, but it can change to either TV or movies. But essentially, what this is going to be is we're each going to select either a song, an album, or something of that nature that we just really enjoy and would like to recommend to you guys to listen to. And honestly, I don't know if you have yours ready or if you want me to go first.
Go first.
All right, so my group or my pick of the day is actually not necessarily a song or an album, but it's a group that I actually just recently came across. Now I'm almost positive that the way that I came across them was somewhere on Instagram, maybe through like a reel or something. They probably had their music playing, but after I started hearing their stuff, I really enjoyed the type of music that they were making. And I'm talking about a group called Grupo Frontera, and they are a Spanish music group, and because here's the thing. So I've actually have always been into Spanish music, but I've more so have been into like Spanish music from like the 80s and 70s and like even 90s. So I do like listen to that type of music, but it's like very, very old school type of Spanish music. Whereas, the more modern day, like for example, like the Bad Bunnies and stuff, it's more so kind of mixed with pop. And so the thing that I like about them, it is a group, it is a band, and so they do play instruments. And honestly, the thing that really drew me to them, especially after listening to their first studio album, which I'm kind of blanking on the name right now, but the thing that I really enjoyed about that is when you listen to the lyrics in their songs, they have that feel of those bands from back in the day that I really enjoyed from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But they obviously do it with more modern lyrics. And so that's the thing that I really enjoyed about them, and I really like their sound, and I cannot wait to see, what more type of music they put out in the future, because I've enjoyed everything that I've heard from them so far. So that would have to be my pick for today, would be Grupo Frontera. And listen, even if you're somebody that doesn't understand Spanish music, it's honestly just a vibe to, just to listen to it and kind of tune out. It's just feel good music that I think you'll really enjoy. So that is why my pick of the day is Grupo Frontera. Make sure you guys check them out.
I'm gonna keep it in the more Latin area as well. I kind of forgot to do this, but I got an album anyway. It's actually one of my favorite albums of last year. It's from an artist called Georgina Hassan. She's an Argentinian like acoustic orchestrator, singer songwriter, and her album last year was called Las Formas de la Noche, and she makes very acoustic, folky, like very soothing type of music. And the album has a few covers, but from what I understand, it is also has original songs, and it was one of my favorite albums of last year. Like my top 4 albums would be, Danny Brown's album Quantara, Kara Jackson's album, the underscore album, and then this album Las Formas de la Noche. Very soothing, very emotional, very passionate, and the orchestrations are just gorgeous. Like I'm gonna keep it in. Yeah, and apparently this is her first album. This is my first album I've heard from her, and I haven't got time to go back and research more. I should, but this is like her first album in like 5-6 years. So, and it's a magnificent album, Las Formas de la Noche, Georgina Hassan. Really good album.
All right, so that's going to be it for our picks of the day. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this first episode.
I hope you guys learned a lot, too. We spit some knowledge in this podcast. This is all over the place. I'm going to cringe when I listen to this.
Yeah, hey, who the fuck do you think has to edit this? So It's not gonna be. It's gonna. I'm gonna have to cut some shit out. But
Probably.
but listen, I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode, and please subscribe if you enjoyed it, and also make sure you stay tuned for that episode 2 because, like I said, I will be doing a recap of my time going to that adult entertainment expo.
Sorry about the dogs, by the way.
Yeah, we can't really do much about that, but I really hope that you guys enjoyed, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Live and learn.